7 Life-altering truths from Ecclesiastes, the shocking wisdom they never told you. In a world where certainty is a distant dream, 7 life-altering truths lie hidden within the dusty, ancient pages of Ecclesiastes. Imagine stumbling upon catchphrases that shatter your understanding of life itself. That's what happened to Clara Thompson on a stormy Tuesday evening. The clouds roared above her, mirroring her inner turmoil as she discovered a book that seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly energy. Each word pulsed with secrets, as if the universe was whispering to her about the mysteries of existence. The first truth hit her like a freight train: there is a time for everything. But wait, what kind of life has a definitive time for joy and sorrow? It felt as if the words were mocking her, taunting her with a truth she couldn't grasp amidst her chaotic life. Clara's hands trembled as she clutched the book tighter. It was as if the air grew heavy around her, whispering secrets of timeless wisdom that she was never meant to hear. This was no ordinary book, this was a ticket to the depths of her fears. Things escalated when she flipped to the fourth truth: all is vanity. A chill ran down her spine, the very fabric of her reality seemed to disintegrate. The statement twisted in her gut, causing her to struggle for breath. Were her ambitions, her dreams, just dust in the wind? What was the point? As she looked outside, the rain pounded at her window like a frantic heartbeat, echoing the turmoil inside her. Hearts raced as she read through each shocking truth. The tension thickened, each revelation laying bare the naked truth of her existence. She couldn't shake the feeling that this book was more than just ancient wisdom. It felt prophetic, almost sinister. Was it warning her? What dark path awaited if she dared to know more? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As she closed the book, the shadows in her room deepened, creeping into every corner as if cloaked figures surrounded her. What if she wasn't ready for the revelations hidden in those pages? Questions bubbled up inside her. What dark knowledge would she unearth next? With a heart racing like a wild horse, Clara felt drawn to turn the page, but equally terrified of what might lie ahead. If truths held the power to shatter her reality, what awaited on the other side? The silence throbbed painfully. The answer was calling her, but was she ready to listen? Clara's breath quickened as she steadied herself, battling the urge to both run from and dive deeper into the book. She could feel the energy emanating from its pages, a magnetic pull that clawed at the edges of her sanity. The reality of her life began to swirl around her, each truth she had read nipping at her heels like a ghost determined to haunt her. After a moment, she flicked the pages once more. It felt wrong, like an illicit thrill. Plain curiosity turned into an insatiable hunger. The fifth truth awaited: wisdom is better than folly. As she read those words, her heart pounded louder than the storm outside. What did it mean to value wisdom when the world around her seemed to reject it? The voices of her family echoed in her mind, warnings about chasing dreams that felt like chasing shadows. The weight of their fear clenched around her like shackles. Then came the rumbling of thunder, a deep roar that made her flinch. Outside, the rain began to fall heavier, the drops streaming down like tears racing down a troubled face. She had never seen the weather turn so aggressively. It was as if the universe was throwing a fit, syncing perfectly with the chaos within her mind. A sudden flash of lightning lit up the room, and in that brief illumination, she caught a glimpse of a figure standing outside her window. Clara's heart dropped into her stomach. Was it just her imagination, or was someone really there? She leaned closer to the glass, trying to pierce through the sheets of rain. It was hard to tell, but the silhouette seemed familiar, an echo of someone from her past, lurking just within reach. A jolt of recognition coursed through her. She stumbled backward, dropping the book. The thudding noise made her stomach twist. Silence shattered as she scrambled to grab it, desperate to regain control. What was happening? Had her search for answers conjured strings of fate leading to this moment? Suddenly, her phone buzzed on the table, the screen illuminating with a flurry of notifications. Friends were reaching out worried messages, and one from an unknown number that made her fingers tremble. "Clara, please call me. It's urgent." The chill crept back up her spine. Who was it? And why was this stranger reaching out at such a tumultuous moment? Clara felt her head spin with possibilities. Was this a coincidence or part of the book's sinister grip? She couldn't help but notice how everything around her seemed to reflect the chaos of the pages, time slipping, events colliding, the unfurling of both her worst fears and the tantalizing call of revelation. As she poised her finger over the call button, the shadows in the room swirled ominously. The air thickened, weighed down by an unspeakable tension. If she called, would she find solace or ignite a fear she wasn't prepared to face? The choice hung before her like an executioner's blade, and then, in an instant that felt both swift and eternal, a loud crash echoed through the house. The windows rattled, and everything went dark as the power flickered out, plunging her into shadow. Clara froze, the swell of dread reaching a fever pitch. What lay beyond the darkness? Was it freedom or a trap? The voices of her past warned her not to look too closely, but the book lay open at her feet, usurping her will. The next truth awaited just beneath the trembling surface of the unknown. Would she dare to venture into the abyss? What was waiting on the other side of that void? And more urgently, who or what was in the shadows with her? Clara's heart raced as she stood frozen in the darkness. It felt as if the very walls of her home were closing in, the air around her thick and suffocating. She couldn't shake the sensation of eyes watching from the shadows. The noise from outside roared against the house, seeming to mock her rising panic. She fumbled around in the dark for something to cling to, anything that could anchor her to reality. Her fingertips grazed the textured cover of the book, and she grasped it tightly. It pulsed with some unknown energy, and Clara felt a strange sense of resolve wash over her. This was her moment, this was her choice. "Who's there?" she called, her voice shaking yet defiant. Silence met her challenge, heavy and oppressive, pressing against her eardrums. Then came a soft rustling sound, like the whisper of fabric against skin. Clara felt her stomach plummet. All she could hear was the thudding of her heart, impossibly loud. Determined to confront whatever fear lurked within her home, she steadied her breath and reached for her phone on the table, the small screen glowing faintly in the dark. The urgency of the unknown message clawed at her chest. She hesitated, finger hovering over the call button. Would this give her answers, or plunge her deeper into the nightmare? Suddenly, another loud crash echoed from upstairs, the noise slicing through the murky stillness. Clara's hands trembled violently now, the phone almost slipping from her grip. The urge to flee battled with her curiosity, a tug-of-war that left her feeling dizzy. She bit her lip, steeling herself. Leaving the room would mean confronting the darkness, but staying here offered no safety either. With a shaky exhale, she turned toward the staircase, feeling each step carry her further into an unknown terror. As she ascended, the house creaked like a beast awakening from slumber. Shadows danced along the walls, stretching into unnatural shapes. She held the phone out before her, its light revealing glimpses of furniture, the familiar warped now into something sinister. What awaited her at the top? Clara reached the landing, the corridor ahead cloaked in darkness. She could hear the relentless rain pounding against the windows, each drop echoing like a desperate plea. And then, in the stillness, came a voice soft, insistent, weaving through the echo of the storm. "Clara, help me." It was the voice of a child, and it sent a chill skittering down her spine. Just as she was about to call out, the voice faltered and was replaced by a low, guttural growl, reverberating off the walls around her. "Who's there?" Clara yelled again, her heart pounding as she backed toward the staircase, but there was nowhere to run anymore. The voice merged with the storm, they spoke as one, a cacophony that left her reeling. Then she remembered the book, the truths it held within its pages, whispering secrets she was yet to uncover. "What do you want?" she asked, the edge of desperation threading through her words. The growling grew fainter, replaced by a chilling laughter that sent shivers cascading down her spine. The apparition of the familiar figure outside her window surged back to her. Was this all connected? Had she opened a door she couldn't close? The light from her phone flickered, and she felt a cold breath against the back of her neck. She spun around, heart racing, goosebumps erupting on her skin. Something or someone was here, waiting. She needed to understand the truth held within the book before it all swallowed her whole. What if the next truth could lead her to salvation? Would it reveal more about the phantom standing in her home? Or would it push her further into despair? Clara's grip on the phone tightened, her heart thrumming against her chest. She was on the brink, and the storm was just beginning. What would be the consequence of uncovering the next truth? And what if she couldn't handle what it unveiled? The answer waited in the shadows, and she was about to plunge back into the void. The cold breath lingered, brushing against Clara's neck, sending a shiver through her entire body. She squinted into the darkness behind her, but nothing emerged, yet the air crackled with a tangible tension. Was it just her imagination, fueled by fear, or was something truly lurking? "Clara, help me," the voice returned, clearer now, each syllable twisting with pain. It was less a call for aid and more an urgent plea that turned her insides to ice. The echoed laughter faded but remained imprinted on her mind like a haunting melody. Her body screamed at her to retreat, but something else, an undeniable urge, pulled her forward. She could almost hear the book rustling in her mind, begging her to embrace its secrets. With trembling hands, she slowly turned back to the corridor, the light from her phone illuminating the shadows. On the wall, there was an outline that felt familiar. A door. With a swift inhale, she moved towards it, the wood grain rough beneath her fingers. The doorknob felt icy, its surface damp as she turned it, and it swung open with a reluctant creak, revealing a room drenched in darkness. "Clara," the whisper echoed louder, a childlike voice carrying a weight of sorrow that pressed against her chest. She stepped inside, heart thundering, a mix of dread and anticipation swirling in her gut. The familiar smell of dust and something rotten filled the air. Clara waved the phone's light around, revealing a child's room frozen in time. Toys lay scattered across the floor, the colors faded, memories locked away. In the corner stood a ragged teddy bear, its fabric stained and eyes dull, a husk of comfort. "Where are you?" she whispered, half afraid of the answer. She felt drawn deeper into this twisted realm, tracing her shadow along the wall, as if it might lead her to the lost soul. Then she saw at a glimpse through the remnants of sunlight filtering through the dirty windows. A flicker of movement darted just beyond her reach. Clara let out an involuntary gasp, stepping closer to the source, belly tight with fear that something momentous was about to unfold. Suddenly, a figure materialized in the doorway, blocking the exit. Clara's breath hitched. It was a child. The outline was shrouded in darkness, but their features were disturbingly familiar. "Please," the apparition begged, their voice trembling like fragile glass. "You have to help me. It's not safe here." "It's not what it seems." Her heart raced, a rush of adrenaline pumping through her veins. "What do you mean? What happened to you?" Her voice came out as a strangled whisper, fear mingling with desperate hope, but as she reached out, longing to bridge the gap between them, the child's expression twisted. Black eyes glistened, swallowing the light. "You must understand the truth before it finds you," they hissed, their voice a chilling echo of the storm outside. Before she could react, the air shifted, cold and suffocating, wrapping around Clara like chains. She could see the door behind her beginning to waver, pulsating as if it were alive, fighting against her escape. "Help me," the voice cried one last time, despair lancing through the words. "No!" she cried, wrenching herself back. She stumbled away, plunging back into the safety of the hallway, where the shadows seemed thick with danger and regret. With shaking fingers, she fumbled for her phone, hoping the light would quell the darkness. But as she turned, it flickered again and died. Now she was truly alone. Clara's mind raced, a whirlpool of decisions and dread, all spiraling around the question that grew louder with each heartbeat: what was the truth the child was terrified of? And who or what did she need to save? The storm outside howled, resonating with her growing fear. She couldn't stay paralyzed anymore. Ignoring the chilling voice calling her back, Clara felt the book call from where she had left it, a lifeline in a situation spiraling toward chaos. With a surge of determination, she turned back towards the room, the walls closing in like a vice. But deep down, she knew deep down, she would uncover whatever horrors lay ahead. As the chilling laughter echoed once more, mingling with the growls reverberating in her head, Clara whispered to herself, "I'm coming for you." What awaited her within the pages of the book? The next truth she uncovered could either be her salvation or utter destruction. The darkness swallowed Clara as she stepped back into the child's room, heart racing with each reluctant move. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the quiet bated breaths of her mounting dread. It felt as if the walls themselves were closing in, squeezing her resolve. She had come too far to turn back now, but the chill in the air slithered along her spine like a serpent. "Help me!" The voice echoed again, but this time it felt closer, as if the child were standing right behind her. She turned sharply, expecting to see the shadowy figure loom larger, but there was only the hollow stillness of the room, with that faded teddy bear staring blankly over their forgotten past. Clara shook her head, fighting against the tug of panic. "What do you want from me?" she whispered, half-heartedly hoping for an answer, though knowing the question itself held no weight in this impossible space. As if in response, the heavy door creaked once more, an invitation or a warning. She cast a glance behind her, noting the flicker of the hallway light barely filtering through the door's gap. It felt like the last beacon of safety, a reminder that there was still a world outside this nightmare. But the child, where was the child? She needed to know more. Suddenly, the air thickened, and with a swift motion, Clara lunged for the book that lay just out of reach on the dusty shelf, almost as if it had wounded her long enough. The cover cracked open under her fingers, pages ruffled by an unseen wind. Words blurred together in a chaotic wave, but then she focused, pulling out a passage that stood out, glowing ominously in the gloom. "Only the truth can free you," it said in stark lettering, a chilling promise that sent a tremor through her. She desperately flipped through the pages, scanning for clues, for relief, anything to illuminate her path. Clara, the voice again, but this time a harsh whisper that echoed with urgency. "Don't read it. It wants you to." Sweat beaded on her brow as she hoisted her gaze towards the door again. There stood the child, clearer than before, their face still contorted in fear. "Please," they urged, their expression softening even as their dark eyes seethed with a creeping shadow. "You don't understand. You can't trust what's inside." Clara's pulse pounded in her ears. Every fiber of her being screamed to obey the child's plea, but the allure of the book's secrets called louder. She was on the precipice of something monumental, but every heartbeat was a thrill of panic and excitement intertwined. Why were those eyes so dark? What terrified them so much about truth? The child stepped closer, the shadows within them swirling. "It will take everything from you just like it took from us." The words splintered through the air, cracking like thunder, resonating with a deep memory Clara did not fully comprehend. She felt her heart racing, the looming choice burning in her throat like acid. Could she carve the book open and risk the horrors it contained? Or should she flee, heed the child's warning, and leave the secrets buried at the cost of saving a lost soul? It was a decision that held more weight than mere curiosity. It was her chance to salvage a truth that could lead to madness, or salvation. With trembling lips, she took a step towards the book, ignited by a throbbing need to understand. But before her fingertips could graze the worn pages again, the floor erupted into a cacophony of shrieking wood and cracking tiles. Light flickered and flashed, filling the room with eerie shadows, distorting the child's form into something grotesque. "No!" Clara shouted, but the darkness lunged, wrapping around her in an icy embrace. The book slipped from her grasp as she was thrust backward, hitting the ground with a thud. The air knocked from her lungs, chaos enveloped her, the child's cries merging with the sounds of contorting wood and invisible claws. Clara's thoughts spiraled. What had she unleashed? As the enshrouded doorway twisted and warped, the line between truth and horror dissolved. In that moment, suspended and terrified, she recognized one damning truth: some secrets were meant to remain buried. As the darkness roared, a final thought pierced the chaos. Who, or what, would emerge if she dared to reclaim the book that had promised freedom yet threatened her very existence? Clara had tipped the scales. Now all she could do was wait and brace for the fallout. The shadows writhed like serpents, their sinuous forms twisting around Clara, blurring her vision. Panic surged within her, a sharp, cold grip on her chest. The child's voice echoed in her mind, a haunting refrain that urged her to flee, yet curiosity dug its claws deeper into her resolve. Clara, she heard again, but this time it was different, thicker, distorted, like it came from somewhere far more sinister. Gripping her head, she squeezed her eyes shut, desperately willing herself to wake from this nightmare. Suddenly, a gust of icy air rushed through the room, flinging open the remnants of small, dusty windows. Light streamed in, cutting through the veil of darkness, fragile yet fierce. The shadow enveloping her faltered, momentarily retreating in the stark illumination. The child, too, momentarily regained form, eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. "Find the key," the child whispered, and in that instant, Clara felt the weight of the words. What key? Her heart raced again, but this time with a burgeoning sense of determination. She scrambled to her feet, the cold ground beneath her grounding her rising panic. With focused urgency, Clara cast her glance around the room, searching for anything that could hold significance. The book lay agape on the floor, a siren calling her back. But fear reversed her steps as she hesitated to approach it. Instead, she moved to the bookcase, scanning the dusty spines for clues. "Please." The child's voice sliced through the thick air. "It's too late for us, but not for you. You can escape." A sudden noise erupted from the hallway, a loud crash, something tumbling forcefully to the ground. Clara's heart dropped. She couldn't let anything else break into this unpredictable sanctuary. Adrenaline pumped through her veins, urging her to act. She brushed her fingers over the thick wallpaper, darting her eyes across the shelves until there. A gleam caught the light, positioned where a shelf met the corner. A small silver key dangled from an old, rusty chain. Clara snatched it up, hope blooming inside her. She clutched it tightly, feeling its coldness radiate a sense of purpose. "Clara, you have to hurry." The child's voice grew fainter, as if swallowed by the very shadows that encased them. "For what?" Clara shouted back, but her voice felt insignificant, consumed by the gathering storm. She turned back to the book, now realizing it was not just an instrument of truth, it was a lock that trapped the voices, the spirits, the souls that had once inhabited this space, but now, it was all shifting. She could feel it. Drawing a shaky breath, she approached the book once more. The words jumped off the pages, now a vivid tapestry of swirling scripts and ominous warnings. They beckoned her like whispers in the wind, begging for understanding while taunting her fears. Had this book truly once promised freedom? Or had it been the chains all along? Clara hesitated, doubt creeping back in. "Occupy your thoughts with light, Clara. Only light." The child's plea ignited a fire in Clara. The key glinted against her palm, and she brought it closer to the pages, feeling the heavy weight of choice again. In that moment, Clara lifted the book, preparing to insert the key, when the ground shook violently. The walls surged, pulsing as if alive, and the child recoiled, their form dimming like a distant star fading from view. "No! Stay!" Clara screamed, but the darkness convulsed, wrapping tighter, pulling her to the edge of despair. The shadows began to rise, taking shape, clawing towards her, desperate to reclaim the chaos that had been momentarily quelled. "Turn back, Clara." The child's voice was barely a whisper, lost now in the cacophony. Clara realized she was at the threshold of a decision. She gripped the book, her heart racing with the gravity of the moment. Would she plunge into the abyss for the truth, risking everything for salvation? As she pushed the cold key towards the lock, the shadows closed in, clawing at her very essence. It was now or never. But would the truth they had lost even set her free, the echoing of her heartbeat thundered in her ears as she steadied her hand, teetering on the brink of revelation. Would she dare to unlock the past, or would darkness consume her too? And just when the key turned, a deafening roar erupted. What had she unleashed? The moment the key turned in the lock, the air crackled with electricity, a frenzy of sound that plunged Clara's senses into chaos. The roaring grew louder, spilling into the room like an angry tide, pulling at her limbs, threatening to drag her under. The shadows danced wildly around her, transforming into twisted figures that clawed and grasped at her soul. Clara's mind raced. There was no turning back. The cold metal felt like fire against her palm as she pushed harder, desperate to stop the madness. The book trembled, pages fluttering like wings struggling against a storm. A burst of blinding light erupted from between the pages, so vivid it felt alive. Clara. The child's voice pierced through the tumult, fierce and unyielding. You must choose. Choose what? She screamed back, squinting against the brightness that fought the shadows. The answer felt locked within her, teasing her consciousness while the roar intensified. Fate. The child's figure flickered in and out, a shimmering ghost caught in the chaos. You can free them. Free us. The shadows howled, their distortion flaring with rage. Clara couldn't make sense of it all. The child's spirit was urging her onward, yet the darkness clawed at her resolve, whispering doubts and regrets. The truth was there, she could feel it, waiting just beyond the veil. Heart pounding, Clara swiped at the pages with her fingers, drawing the light closer to her chest. In that moment, amidst the cacophony, she glimpsed images swirling within, faces twisted in anguish, cries for help mutating into nightmares, chains rattling against unseen barriers. It was a glimpse of the past, a warning and a plea. Suddenly, the book erupted with a deafening crack. The shadows recoiled, lashing out in fierce spouts of blackness, colliding with the radiant energy blooming from the book. Clara felt it surge through her, both surreal and grounding. Let go of your fear, Clara. The child's voice became a clarion call, cutting through the chaos. You hold the power. I can't. She yelled back, her voice shaking. What if I fail? Failure is the key to freedom. With those words, something ignited within her. The fear that had seemingly paralyzed her began to dissolve, replaced instead with a fierce determination. This was not just about her freedom, it was the chance to break the cycle of torment, the chance to save all of them. Clara took a deep breath, gathering every ounce of courage she possessed. With the light in her eyes igniting a passion she didn't know she had, she hurled the book downward, letting the shadows envelope it. As the pages hit the ground, they erupted like a wave, cascading light that pushed back the darkness, tearing the barriers asunder. The echoes of tortured cries filled the air, morphing into whispers of gratitude and release. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in tandem, shrinking back into the corners as if afraid of the very light Clara invoked. Keep shining. The child called, now a brilliant silhouette amidst the swirling brightness. We are with you. But just as Clara reveled in the flicker of success, the floor beneath her trembled violently. She stumbled, her grip on reality wavering as the walls rattled, and the entire room began to quiver. Something else was coming. From the depths of the swirling shadows, a new shape began to emerge, something darker, more monstrous than anything she had faced before. Clara, a chilling voice slithered into her ear, unmistakable. You cannot escape me. The realization sank in with a cold dread. This wasn't over. What had she truly unleashed? What lurked behind the shadow she'd just disturbed? Clara felt the blood rush from her face as everything around her spiraled into chaos once again. She had opened a door that could never be shut. And now, she would have to confront not just the past, but whatever horror awaited her next. Clara's heart pounded in her chest as the room vibrated with an otherworldly energy. Shadows writhed and twisted, coiling around her like serpents, laced with an ominous whisper that sent shivers racing down her spine. She had made a choice, but now, in the grip of that choice, there was no escape from the consequences. "Face me, Clara," the voice hissed, echoing with a familiarity that could drown her. "You think you've liberated them? How naive." She spun around, squinting against the radiance that still fought valiantly against the encroaching darkness. But the light began to flicker, like a candle in the wind, casting long, disheartening shadows that blotted out hope. The child's form had dimmed too, a faint silhouette flickering in and out of vision, almost lost. "No." Clara's hands balled into fists. "You can't have any more power over me. I won't let you." The voice laughed, a chilling sound that reverberated through her. "And yet, you've already given me everything. They are bound to me, just as you are now." With a primal scream of desperation, Clara pushed against the weight of despair. She felt the memories clawing at her, the faces she had glimpsed before, teeming with sorrow. Each one was a tether binding her to a reality she refused to accept. "I remember you," she whispered, dread creeping into her throat. "I remember what you did. What I did." The voice oozed condescension, slithering closer yet hidden in the shadows. "You weren't even there to witness it. But I assure you, every scream, every tear, they surround you still. You cannot escape your past." The child reappeared, a glimmering hope against the dark backdrop, urging her silently. Clara's pulse raced as she clung to the flicker of light. "I can't let you win," she shouted, defiance settling firmly on her shoulders. "I choose to fight. I choose to break the cycle." As Clara's resolve swelled, light erupted anew from her heart, radiating outward like sunbeams piercing a storm. It enveloped her, casting the shadows back, illuminating the room in a brilliant display. The monstrous shape recoiled, its form distorting and writhing, trying to retreat from the purity of her intention, but the darkness wasn't finished. As it thrashed about, Clara felt a ripple in the air, cold and electric. It surged back violently, a monstrous wave of obsidian intent crashing toward her, a storm ready to swallow her whole. "Look at your reality," the voice shrieked, louder and more frenzied. "What will you do when the truth is revealed? All you've lost, all you've sacrificed for nothing." Clara felt herself teetering on the edge of a precipice, memories pouring in like a flood. Her mother's face twisted in pain, her father's trembling hands unable to shield her. Each haunting image pressed against her brain, relentless and unforgiving. "No!" she screamed, drowning out the voice. "You're lying. I can set them free." And in that moment, as she willed herself to fight back against the suffocating despair, a blinding flash burst forth, illuminating the darkest corners of her mind. The truth enveloped her like a warm embrace, but it wasn't the truth she feared, it was the truth of the choice before her, the choice to confront all she had lost, to confront the nameless horror that had taken root within her. The shadows recoiled in terror, but they weren't gone. They would return. A confrontation loomed on the horizon, and this was just the beginning. What had she truly unleashed in her struggle for freedom? With darkness swelling at her back, Clara braced herself, knowing whatever lay ahead would test her resolve like never before. She took a step forward, a surge of adrenaline coursing through her veins. The child's face broke through the shadows, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and hope. "The truth is your weapon, Clara. Will you wield it?" But before she could regain her footing, a rumble resonated through the ground, erupting with a force that sent her sprawling. The walls trembled as the shadow lunged once more, and Clara desperately grasped at her thoughts. Could she truly confront the horror behind the veils of her past? Was it too late to turn back? Before she could wonder any further, the shadows converged around her, enveloping her in darkness, and in an instant, she was swallowed whole. What awaited her on the other side of that abyss? The void was suffocating, thick like smoke, and Clara felt the shadows coil tighter around her. For a moment, there was nothing, just oppressive silence, then a distant echo rang out like a bell tolling in the dark. The sound reverberated against her soul. "Stay strong." The child's voice penetrated the darkness, fading in and out like a flickering bulb. "You have the power, remember." Clara drew in a shaky breath, trying to concentrate on the warmth that had flickered within her heart moments ago. The memories pressed against her mind, but now, they didn't feel like chains. They were lessons. Lessons of love, loss, and ultimately, redemption. She thought of her mother's soothing words, her father's vulnerability. Those were her anchors. Yet shadows surged around her, each one a predator hungry for the light she barely held on to. She could almost hear their whispers, taunting her, reminding her of her failures and fears. "You'll never escape us," they taunted. "Silence," she hissed, summoning her strength. Clara's fists tightened around nothing, but in her mind, she grasped the bright threads of truth. And suddenly, she was no longer floating in that empty abyss. The shadows unraveled, revealing a landscape that felt both foreign and achingly familiar, her childhood home, worn and decayed, haunted by echoes of laughter that twisted into sobs. Clara stood at the threshold of the past, her heart racing. "Look at what you left behind," a voice hissed, seeping out from the rotting walls. Clara turned, seeing something dark shift in the doorway. It was a twisted version of herself, eyes sunken and hollow. "What's left for you here? I'm breaking this cycle," Clara yelled, stepping boldly forward. The words surged from her, fueled by the sheer force of her resolve. "You have no hold over me anymore." But the figure laughed, a hollow sound that echoed through the wreckage. "You think you can run from the pain? That you can just leave it all behind? You can't escape your truth." Pain gripped her chest as memories surged in a wave, the weight of everything she had lost pressing down. In a heartbeat, she relived the moment she had run away from this house, the screams of her parents still ringing in her ears. She had vowed never to return. They had needed her, but she had felt powerless. "Clara, please," the child's gentle voice broke through, pulling her back. "You've grown. The truth will set you free if you choose to confront it." Suddenly, the angle shifted. The room swirled with colors and emotions. Clara's heart thumped in time with the pulse of the shifting shadows, as they morphed into faces she had loved once. They cried out, not in anguish but in a desperate plea for understanding, connection, and closure. She reached out, hands trembling. "I'm sorry I let you down." The admission tore from her lips, raw and honest. "But I'm here now, I want to help." The figures shifted, momentarily flickering to the looks she had treasured. The moment held an electric charge, and for the first time, Clara saw affirmation, like the dawn breaking through the dark. But the twisted figure sneered. "You think they'll forgive? You abandoned them. You abandoned yourself." With rage swirling inside her, Clara stepped fully into the fragmented scene, where shadows grasped at her, desperate to drag her back. "No, I forgive myself. I am more than that choice. I'm more than that pain." The darkness roared, and the room shuddered. As Clara's words pierced through, the twisted version of herself crumbled, revealing the truth. In its place, a path opened, leading deeper into the heart of her past. She hesitated, fear clenching tightly as she stared down the darkened passage, an invitation but a warning too. Would she truly face what lay ahead? As uncertainty loomed, the shadows quivered, whispering, beckoning her to turn back. But a flicker of light, no larger than a firefly, grew brightly in her chest, illuminating the way forward. "Will you face it, Clara?" The child's voice prodded, filled with a sincerity that felt almost tangible. Tension burst as Clara took a step toward the light. Knowing full well the abyss was not defeated. It was a test of how far she was willing to go to reclaim her truth, and just as that courage ignited, darkness swarmed around her again, consuming her whole as she plunged into the unknown. What new truths awaited her in the heart of her darkest fears? Clara's heart pounded as she hurtled deeper into the darkness, the shadows swirling around her like an unending void. Fear enveloped her like a suffocating blanket, but within it flickered a faint pulse of courage. The child's voice echoed still, urging her onward, fueling her hope. This was a journey into the heart of her own despair, a path she had left behind. Out of the darkness, a dim light began to break through, illuminating an old, familiar scene, her childhood living room, the air heavy with nostalgia and pain. Clara stumbled into the room, memories etched into every corner. The faded couch, the worn carpet, and the walls lined with photographs of laughter, love, and ultimately, loss. Clara's breath caught as she saw them, her parents, their faces sunken with grief, shadows of the joy they once shared. "Come back to us," the whisper hung in the air like smoke, thick and lingering. Guilt clawed at Clara's insides, her mind battling against the truth she had tried so hard to avoid. The darkness pulsed, eager to drown her resolve. "I'm here now," she murmured, fighting the tears that threatened to spill. "I'm ready to face it." Stepping forward, she felt the shadows writhing beneath her feet, desperate to pull her back, but her resolve burned brighter. The voices swirled around her, filled with pain, regret, and longing. "Don't abandon us again," her mother's voice broke through, fragile yet fierce. Clara closed her eyes, letting the memories wash over her happy moments, and the haunting ones that led her to run away. "I'm sorry," she cried out, her voice shaking with raw emotion. "I thought I was protecting you by leaving. I thought it was the only way." The figures shifted, their expressions shifting from sorrow to understanding. It was then Clara remembered something vital: they were tied to her, just as she was to them. They needed her to confront all that had remained unsaid and unresolved. "I forgive you," her father murmured, his silent strength echoing throughout the living room. "But you have to forgive yourself." Her breath hitched. These were the words she had longed to hear. She opened her eyes to find the shadows still snarling around her, but this time, they felt less oppressive. The child's voice remerged, clearer and persistent. "Embrace the truth, Clara. Only then will you be truly free." The light grew brighter, warping the room in shimmering waves. Clara stepped closer, feeling the warmth ebbing from the figures before her. "I'm breaking the cycle," she whispered. "I'm stopping the pain." As she spoke, the shadows twisted wildly, but Clara could feel their grip weakening. She encompassed the light within her, strengthening her resolve to face her past. The figures reached out, their hands intertwined, drawing on her courage. The darkness screeched in anguish, a desperate attempt to reclaim what it lost. "You will never escape," it howled, but Clara faced it head-on. She felt the love from her family pulsing around her, its warmth breaking through the chilling cold. "I choose love," Clara declared, each word forming a shield against the darkness. "I choose to remember." And with that, she let the light burst from her, engulfing the room in a brilliant glow. The shadows screamed and writhed, desperately retreating as Clara stepped into her truth. "Do you see, Clara?" The child's voice echoed joyfully, holding back the shadows as the warmth enveloped them. "You have the power to mend the fractures." Clara watched as her parents' sharp edges softened, their shadows dispersing into shimmering particles of light. "Thank you for coming back," her mother whispered, the sorrow lifting as Clara's energy poured over them. In a blinding flash, the darkness cracked, revealing a world filled with vibrant color and life, the echoes of laughter mingling with warm, caressing sunlight. The child beamed with hope, standing steadfast amongst the shimmering light. Clara gasped, feeling the weight of everything she had suppressed for so long evaporating into the ether. She pressed a hand to her chest, breathing deeply as liberation wrapped around her like a gentle embrace. "I'm free," she whispered in awe, the realization washing over her. "Well done, Clara," the child said with delight, their essence brightening. "This is just the beginning. New truths await. Are you ready?" As Clara nodded, she felt grounded in a way she hadn't in years. A weight lifted. Her journey had brought her here, and now she had the power to forge her own path, to face the future with strength. The world around them pulsated and vibrated, filled with possibilities. Clara took a step forward, out of the shadows and truly into the light, ready to embrace whatever came next. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any of our exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to support us. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Clara's journey. Let your voice be heard. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this transformation. Let's build this community together.